There we go. So, welcome to this is number 18 on the Let's Talk Business Coaching. And I thought what we'd do this week, because the question I get asked a lot is it worth publishing a book? Is it worth writing a book and being published and having something on the shelf and this sort of thing? And my view is it is. I think it still has validity to it, providing you go into it with this sort of your eyes open. We do two types of book, and we've got 43 under publication now. We've got what I call the thick books, which are these ones, the thicker ones. So this is one I use. This is a business principles, and I would typically use this with any business client we use, we to work with, and they have this. And we sort of work through. It's a bit of a guidebook. We have another one which is a personal development book, which is the equivalent of it, if you like, and then we have lots of smaller books, which are single issue books, maybe sales or marketing or negotiation, that sort of thing. And the idea was to get to a point where we had a book every week we could send to people by PDF or something like that. So we're nearly there with it now. This one was I thought it was an interesting one, because what we did, one of the biggest challenges I find that people struggle with is what you're going to write. Well, this one, we published this, this is 6 years ago, crikey. I do a weekly blog article on LinkedIn, for example, a blog post, and what Lynn and John have done, that they've just gathered them all together. So this is just a little book of blog posts that you can see there. It's just all my blogs just stitched together. There's about 20 in the book, I think, and they're dated to March 25th, 2014. It's just a book of blogs, so you don't have to do a war and peace novel or anything like that. But I have found when you have a book, people, Gareth's just dialing in again. There we go. It does something that people think is something very cool. Even now, you're an author. It does have that slightly elevated perception. So it is a pretty good idea. Has anybody here published a book? Anybody else published a book? I know Gareth. I'm going to say has or is. It's a work in progress there, I think. Who'd like to publish a book? Anybody who's thinking of it? There we go. Excellent. Good. This is the call for you then. So I'm going to run through just how I approach it and how we publish it and what we do with it. Then I'll open it up for sort of questions, that sort of thing. So what I do when I'm starting, so this book, for example, I just decided that I wanted to run a group coaching program over a 12-month period. So the idea is we do a quarterly planning day as a group, and in between every planning day, we have 2 months and do a workshop. Therefore, that's 8. So I've got 8 chapters in the book, which means I can use this as a basis of a 12-month coaching program. So we do chapter 1, chapter 2, then a quarterly planning. Then it's in month 4 is chapter 3, then chapter 4, quarterly planning 2, and it just builds, so it becomes a 12-month program. So I started like that. So you've got to think maybe a bit sort of strategically about the products. That's why there's 8 chapters in this book, and there's 8 chapters in the other one as well. And then I wanted to say, well, how did I describe the chapters? If I'm starting a business, where would I start? What things would I do? So you reach a linear flow. You do this first, then you move on to that, and you do this and you do that, and they're prioritized. And I literally did a mind map for it. I had a big piece of A0 paper. I'm a draftsman by trade. That's some paper left in the loft. Literally put it on the dining room table, put a title in the middle, as you do, and put 8 bars going out, and then just started to put titles next to them, which was the first one, the second one, and I literally drew a visual representation of the book, the title, and just little notes about content. Where do you cover budgeting, where do you do this, where do you do that, where do you cover mindset, and that took about 2 weeks to do that, to sort of plan it all out and just get it all done. And then all I did then was I literally treated it as a job. And this was written. This is the second book. I started this in probably 2012, I think it was. This one took about only 4 months to write, so it wasn't very long. And this one it's about 95,000 words, I think. So it's 280 pages long. There's a lot of stuff in there, but I treated it as a job. I was up at 6 o'clock every morning, 6 till 9, 5-6 days a week, and maybe some more time flexing around as well. I just sat in the office, mug of coffee, and just focused on just writing. But when I'd finished that 3-hour slot, I just literally put it to one side and then got on with my day. It wasn't dipping into things all the time. So I wrote it out on a Word document, just very, very rough. Chapter 1, rough, bang, 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 put it all down there. And then I got a couple of friends, colleagues, who I thought, will just have a look at it, see what you think. And they did a quick proofread and came back and said, yeah, this is rubbish, that doesn't flow, and they really critiqued it hard because it didn't make a lot of sense to them. But we rejigged it around that. And then I built what I call the models and principles. So we've got in here, for example, there's these sort of things, little models and concepts and all that sort of stuff to explain the chapters. That's what I use for the rules of building a business. We've got templates in here. We've got, where are we? Let's find one for you. There's another one. Just a second. Where's the template? Here we go. Little hierarchy charts and that type of thing. So I then spent another month just building all these tools and templates that fitted into the book. And then Lynn put it into artwork format and put it into the Word documents. So it flowed as a book. And then we wanted to make it a little bit more gentle, a bit more sort of easy to read. So we started putting in, and these are literally, if I can find one in here, I'll show you. I'm about to find any now. There we go. Here's one. So little gray page there is like literally a Post-it note. And it's like a little anecdote or a story or something, whatever happened. Yeah, a little storyboard. Add a bit of lightness of touch to it because a business book can be pretty boring, even mine. So I did that. We literally had a pile of Post-it notes, and on the mind map, we wrote a little funny story or something humorous on every Post-it note, a true story about something, and put it on all the different sections of the mind map, then went back to the manuscripts and just drop them in, cut and paste the actual words and the framework into it. We then used Lulu, which was the online publishing, self-publishing. Now, you probably use Amazon now, for example. There's loads out there. We use Lulu. The reason for that is what you've got to be really careful of. The reason I liked Lulu back then is make sure if you do publish through an online site or something like this, self-publishing, make sure you retain and you own the copyrights. I know a couple of people who've done this, and they write a book, they put it up, but then the publishing house owned the copyright, which means you can't cut and slice it, you can't modify it, you can't use it in workshops without attributing, all this sort of stuff. It got very, very messy. Whereas with Lulu, we own it. So we own the copyright, and we upload the Word document into Lulu, very straightforward. John, my lad, he does all the logos for us, the imagery. We've got an in-house logo designer, put a picture on the back. And there's John's little logo there because he did the design work for us. And that's basically it. It's a bit clunky when you sort of upload it into Lulu. You've got to edit and make sure the pages match. That takes in about a day to do that. But once you're done, and they issue the ISBN number at the bottom there, and the barcode is all yours. And then you can buy them one at a time, on-demand publishing. You don't have to buy 500 books and keep them in the garage or anything like that. So all the books that we've got, I've got a few of these in stock, but I can send one to Kev just on Amazon, bang, they print one and send it off. I can buy this one for about £5 for me to buy it, and I sell these on for about 15, and there's no other commissions involved. So you're never going to get rich on selling books, I guarantee it, but you can make a bit of margin. If you go to even Amazon, I think it is, other publishing houses, watch out for margin. They're going to really screw you. You might get like 50 pence per book or something. I can make about, well, it depends what I charge for it. I can make about £10 per book if I want to. The main use of these is we send them to clients. So we include them in a program. I would include them in a workshop. So, a sales workshop, I get the sales book, and when they arrive, there's a book laying for them on there. So it's an added value benefit for them. We don't sell many. I wish we did. We don't sell many, but it wasn't our intention to sell many, which sounds very odd. I haven't promoted it. I haven't, done all this marketing for it. I use it with clients. I use it at workshops and seminars. I've had a couple of people who say they're doing a conference, and I do the speech from the stage, and they'll buy one of these for every delegate in the conference. We have to be a bit careful on pricing there. So you can get some bulk orders coming through and that sort of thing. The best thing about it that I found is that it's like a 12mm business card. It's a half-inch business card if you're in the UK, because I can send one of these to a prospect with a little card on it just saying, thought you might be interested in this. If you like it, give me a call. And they're much more likely to do that if I send them a cold email or a telesales call or something like that. So I'll send one of these with a tea bag or a sachet of coffee in it, or a mat or something like that in a jiffy bag, and just say, now what happens is normally they come back and go, that's a good, and it goes onto LinkedIn, they take a photograph of it, look what Dave Holland just sent me in the post. So he gets a bit of visibility as well, but then they keep it. They do tend to keep books, and they'll stay on the bookshelf behind them, or that sort of thing. You got one there, Phil? Ah, there we go. Look at this. Look at this.
I have two as well.
Oh, there we go. Fantastic. So people tend to keep books, and it's like a continuous reminder of what I do and all this sort of thing, but the same for you guys as well. So that's why we did it. So we started off with the 12-month program idea, hence the 8 chapters with the 4 planning sessions in between. That's where the 8 came from. And then we put it into storyboard format, and I had to be very careful about plagiarizing, because a lot of things are locked into our minds on a sort of subconscious basis, ideas, stories and principles and things like that. So anything that I wrote, I did a check online to make sure I wasn't just duplicating. If I refer to any materials in the book, then I would attribute it to the other author, which is absolutely fine as well. So just watch out for that. But no, so that was it. I enjoyed it, and we'd say these are quite straightforward to do. They're with you forever. We've updated this one, I think, since we did the first one round. But it does get traction, does get visibility. So that's a real quick run through of what we did and sort of why we did it. I guess I'll sort of throw open to any questions or thoughts or observations. I'm not sure, Gareth, are you back with us? I'm not sure you are, but I'm not sure you can participate at this point.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can, yes, we can hear you. Hey, good.
I might just keep my video off if that's all right.
That's perfect.
I'm currently mobile hotspotting, latching onto any mast that I can, really.
Any mast in the store.
Yeah. So yeah, like what you said there.
Because you're on your book is at proofreading, is that right? Is that the stage you're at now?
Yeah, it's editing at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think I found it really hard to write it. Thanks, Kev.
Thanks, Steve.
Always, I know. Always rely on uplifting Kev, I call him. I think I found it really hard. I don't know why. I don't know. I know you were talking about you have your little part in the day that you just kind of dedicate to it. Yeah. I mean, I found it really, really difficult. Partly because I don't like talking about myself, and I just personally I found it difficult. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think a lot of people do. They find this the allocation of time, and they have what we call in the profession writer's block. I never came over that because we did that mind map thing first. But I think the only thing for me, did I enjoy writing it? I don't think I enjoyed writing it. I persevered with it because I wanted the outcome. I wanted the end result. That was my real focus. Wouldn't it be cool to have a book with my photograph on the back? That's what kept me going. But yeah, I agree that it was.
I find you quite egotistical like that, David.
Thank you very much. I love you too. Actually, Kev was right.
Sorry,
Kev was
I thought we were just flying around the insults from Kev.
He started it. But again, it was something that I wanted to. I wanted to say, because nobody in my family's ever written a book. That was one of the things. I remember that. I was the first person to ever go to university. I was the first person to ever get qualified in anything. It was not criticism, but I was the first one to do anything. And I thought, how far can we take this? Nobody ever written a book. And so I thought, well, how cool would that be? So it was like a bit of a personal pilgrimage as well. So it all drove me on, but it wasn't enjoyable, but I made it work basically. But it's like a job, you just got to churn through it, I think.
I mean, I always have ideas for ebooks.
Yeah.
Little tiny, what you would call, even if you call them blogs, I suppose.
Yeah.
But just turn them into a little ebook and churn them out. I find those pretty easy. But writing a seminal piece was difficult.
But even with the ebooks, I mean, if you do just 1 second, I'm looking on here if I've got one. I'm not sure we have. No. Because I do, like you do, I did these sort of 3 or 4 page ebooks on something, and then what Lynn would do is gather all the ebooks together and say, here's 10 ebooks.
That's what
then
I should
you've
have
done
done
it.
it
Then
that
the
way.
book's done. Yeah, absolutely.
I think I should have done it that way.
It doesn't actually matter what's in the book, because my learning is 90% of people don't read the book. They look at the front and they look at the back, and they'll sort of.
I read it. I
know. Well, you're special. No, I've got that one. Yeah. Oh, here we go. So this was what have we got here? Sorry, here we go. Yeah. So Lynn's down here going through the bookshelf trying to find the blogs. Come and say hello now. You can't hide. No, there's Lynn, and there's a beagle down here as well now. So looking after Lucy, for goodness sake. But yeah, so you just do, if you're comfortable doing blogs and little ebooks, just stitch them together, and then you make it into a book. That's it. So it doesn't take a huge amount. It doesn't have to be sort of War and Peace, as I say. And people don't read them. I actually did produce one where it got the first 30-40 pages were typed proper, and the back 30-40 pages were typed proper. The middle pages were just Ipsum Lorem, just junk, as you do on website design. And I sent it to somebody who I knew they wouldn't read it, and I said to him, "How was the book?" He went, "It's brilliant, loved it." I said, what do you think about chapter 7? He said, "No, it's pretty good, I like it." Yeah, I did like chapter 7. Of course, chapter 7 is just gobbledygook. You hadn't read it at all. So it was just, anyway, so they don't read it, not all the time. Some people do. And then you get the people who will, as I found, I had a client on the call end of last week, and they've got a book just started with us, and there's a husband and wife team. They're a great couple, and they're sat there, and she has got the book in her hands, and what I can see sticking out the top is all little post-it notes sticking out the top of it. And she just went, "So before we start, can I just ask you?" I think, oh my God, I've forgotten what I wrote now, because it was 10 years ago. So some people go through it fine tooth comb, and so it's got to be good, it's got to be credible. But most people just skim through it, and use it as a coffee mug stand or something like that, I suppose. But yeah, so how far away is yours then from being sort of finished now, Gav? You mean editing now, final edit, or?
Yeah, imminent. I think I always wanted it done by the end of September.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm aiming for, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's a bit like a dissertation, really. And somebody once said to me, David, I did a master's degree. I don't know if you know that, but
you know what? If you hadn't mentioned it so many times, I would never have known. I would never have known.
Mine was a real university as well. And somebody said to me, if you don't hate your dissertation by the end of it, you've done it wrong. Yeah, and he was right. And I was writing this book, and I thought, I just want this done. Yeah. Like, I just want to be over. Yeah. Like, I'm through with it, really. So I'm not sure how it's going to come back from the editor, but I don't care.
That's right. Whatever they say is good. That's fine. Excellent. Yeah, it can be sort of a war of attrition if you're not very careful doing these sort of things. But anyway, okay. So you've on your journey with that one. So great. All right. Well, look, I'll just open it up. Jump. Any questions or thoughts, or whatever, about getting the book done, and just fire away for me or for Gareth, or whatever helps.
Another approach to, sorry, Claudia, another approach to writing such a long book as 95,000 words is to do it in small chunks. And if you're happy with writing small chunks like a blog post or an article, write your book as a series of blog posts and articles. Yeah. Even if you haven't got the structure at the beginning, the structure may come, but that's another way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, just chunk it down. Absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, this one was the easiest one, because you don't feel the pain writing a blog or 2 or 3 pages, whatever it is, every couple of weeks or something, and then you just get to the point where this is not as thick as the other one either. And Lynn just went like that, and that, stitch them all together, and away you go. If you, by the way, real quick before Claudia, if you publish, I publish my articles on LinkedIn, so that's where they've got the 290 on there now, something like that. If you publish anything on LinkedIn, make sure that you sort of cut and paste and put into a Word document as well, and save it, because LinkedIn can flip out and do all sorts of things, and you'll lose it. So I do LinkedIn, but then I obviously cut and paste it, save it in a Word document somewhere else as well, so we can save them. But anyway, yeah. So Claudia, please.
No, thank you also, Phil, for the recommendation, because I am at the very beginning of my journey. And so one of the things that I'm thinking about is content strategy.
Yeah.
And one thing that ties into that is content reuse or repurposing. Okay. So I wanted to see a little bit what you guys' opinion is on potentially going the route of, yes, I want to establish myself as somebody who deals with X, and therefore I am going to write content. And with maybe, and that's the question, do you have it in mind in the end that it will turn into a book, or are you just initially doing blog posts and things like that? Because yes, you would like it to go into as supporting a course. You might want to have a workbook with it later. You might have the book proper, but then also, because if you use blog posts, let's say for a year on LinkedIn every 2 weeks or every month or whatever it turns out to be, then when you then say, oh, and for this topic now I have a book, then that might also gather some traction. So I wanted to just ask that question. The other thing is, 2 years ago, I wrote a very long dissertation on online coaching.
Okay.
And I want to let you guys know, for management of all kinds of different blog posts, for structuring a book hierarchically and things like that, there's a book that's being used, a software tool that's being used by authors, and it's called Scrivener.
Okay.
Phil knows it as well. It's, I think, a British product, if I remember correctly. Okay. And it is truly exceptional. And what I had actually done in my workflow for my thesis is that in Scrivener, I wrote LaTeX, which is a technical, okay, I know it from back in the day. Yeah. And it does all the layout and things like that. But it does so much stuff. Instead of writing long chunks of text, you write little notes, and those you can even drag and drop where you want them later. Okay. And also, like all my blog posts, I keep them organized by date in this one overall document, right? And then it's very easy to say that one is published, that one's not published, and so on. So just a little tidbit.
Yeah, no, perfect. Thanks. Great. Scrivener. Great. Again, mine was done 10 years ago. Things have moved on, I think, since then, which is really good. I'm slowly using Word and uploading it, but now perfectly, you can find an app for it. So
yeah, just a quick one on Scrivener. Was designed by a writer because none of the word processing programs out there would do what he wanted. Or have the default for submitting stuff to editors. Yeah. They've since developed, or he himself has probably developed a mind mapping tool, which doesn't bolt on. It's a separate application. Okay. But what you can do is you can import into Scrivener from the mind mapping tool directly, and it has all the structure and everything.
Okay, here's me using an A0 piece of paper and a pencil. Look, how dated is that? But great that this is that. I mean, obviously, you make it easy on yourselves and you use the technology.
Yeah, Kevin's just put the link up to.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, cheers, thanks. And so the first part, I've forgotten. What was the first part of the question? Sorry, Claudia. What was that?
Like how you would approach a content strategy. Okay. Like, what would you do first? Or have you thought about what you do first, or you just do something and eventually it'll...
I give most of my personal thoughts. I'll obviously throw it open to everybody. I think I was got a thought about this. I have what I call a loose, tight approach to it. So I will have themes that I put out around certain events or workshops or key dates or Christmas and things like that. And we'll do sort of themed content going out. But I reckon half of mine, 60% of my content, I'm gonna get 2/3, let's say, is just spontaneous. That looks good, that will fit. I just repurpose it, package it, and paste it, and away we go. For me, it's just a personal thing. If I plan everything, and I lose that sort of spontaneity. I found a blog post, for example, over the weekend on marketing, which was really, really cool. I've saved it, and I'm going to use some of that on the one I'm doing this week. And I did not in my content plan, but it's just very, very interesting. I thought so. I'll attribute it, but I'll then cut and paste and put it away there. So I'm about 60-40. 60% made up on the spot, spontaneous is a better word for it, and maybe 1/3 is scheduled through. But anybody else? Well, yeah, Phil's the content king on here, of course. But what's your go, Phil? You got 30 seconds.
What we generally do is if you have to put together a content strategy, you're doing it to force yourself to publish stuff. Mm-hmm. You're creating the plan so that you say, right, that on Q1, I'm going to write about this theme, and these are the subjects within that theme I'm going to write about. This is the type of stuff I'm going to publish. These are the places I'm going to publish it. And this is the outcome that I want from each of the pieces that I publish. Okay. That's very structured, and it's a way of forcing you to do what you say you're going to do.
Sure.
If you're published regularly anyway, you don't necessarily need to have a written down content strategy and plan. Yeah. Because you know you're going to do it. Some people are good at doing it. Some people are bad at doing it. Most prospects that I come across tell me, "Oh, I'll do it myself." And I usually say, "Well, after you haven't done one for 3 weeks, give me a call." Yes. And because it's the strategy is there to assist you to put your plans together, to create the content, and then to publish it.
Yeah. I think for me, again, personally for me, I'm happy doing content. I'm at my desk all the time during the day, so having a workshop or a client call or something. In between that, I'm emailing and checking out and that sort of thing. And I'll just go, put a LinkedIn post or something like that, whatever it is, and circulate it around. I'm pretty sure freewheeling with my sort of stuff. But Kev, what's your strategy? Or is she not on the call tonight?
What's my strategy?
Yeah.
Around what?
Basically content publication. Do you have a fixed content strategy?
No, not really. I just do it ad hoc. I really am. I just whatever takes me fancy. One day I might get an idea in my head. Right. I tend to put mine on video more than write it down. I have problems writing my name. So I'll tell you what, I didn't know we were talking about this tonight. Cool. And I mentioned last week that Mark Dyble's just written a book.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I'll notice about Mark online now, because I haven't been in contact with Mark for a few years. Sure. One thing I noticed is it's all got a bit serious. It's all got he's got a lot more credibility on the back of the fact that he's got a book.
Right.
His business seems to have lifted off. He seems to be reaching people in higher places. Yeah. All on the back of a book.
It does work. If you use it as a tool to get through to people, and the thing you can ask people to give you an intro for it or a little testimonial for it or something like that, and they will. You can either send them a copy of the book or send the copy to an influencer or something like that, and then you can get. I've been interviewed on the radio about the books. I've been in magazines, and it's just like a little good news story. So you can use it as good. As you say, PR and that sort of thing, but I'm not sure about being serious, but but being known for it is great. Okay.
The one thing a question I would ask you is, so when I'm writing, which isn't that often, I've got a disc profile, high C.
Yeah.
So perfection, got to get it right. So do you just put words on a page and then lock them away, or do you put words on a page then go through it, or are you going through it as you're writing them?
I just write, and I might try to check it as I'm going along and that sort of thing, but I just let it flow, and then I send it off to somebody to have a look at it. I don't know. I haven't read the book. I've written it. I haven't sat down and read the thing. I guarantee it. I recognize some of the words, but I'm not sure I've read the whole thing because I've got a very short attention span. So no, I just free flow write it. Because for me, in my mind, I'm writing a story, and I can see the image, the mind map thing. I know where I want it to go to, and what it's going to touch on, and what it's going to lead into, and why, and this sort of thing. but I did the free flow, and then somebody will check the spelling or the grammar and that sort of thing. And I was using the word that a lot in one of the books apparently, and of course that's a no. So they came back and just ripped all the things that the words out like that. But anyway, but apart from that, no, I just free flow and then allow the editor to do their thing and just let Lynn sort it out for me.
So did you go from 95,000 words to 94,000 words?
It went down to 62,000 actually.
One of the things that writers say, the writing bit is easy, it's the editing that's the difficult bit.
I would agree. Yeah, to get it to flow and make sense. Yeah, absolutely.
But different writers have different styles of editing their stuff.
Yeah.
There's one writer whose name I forget, mainly because I haven't read any of his stuff. He apparently writes the entire book and then rips it up and starts again.
Okay.
Other people will write chapters or parts of chapters and pass them out to people they know to get feedback, and then do part editing.
Yeah.
But if you want some hints and tips on writing, I suggest that Joanne Harris on I think it's Joanne, it might be Joanna. Her surname is Harris on Twitter.
Okay.
And she does a daily tweet where she describes her garden shed. And so if you follow her on, she's a published author, and she writes novels and things, and most of her hints and tips about writing are for novelists.
Right.
So bear that in mind. But she does write. I'll need to look it up and send everybody the link to it. But she's got a book about writing books.
Okay.
And it's effectively 10 tips on writing books and stuff. But I like her. I follow her for her daily description of her garden shed, because it's something different every morning.
Excellent. Okay, great. I know some people, my sort of colleague, what they do, one lady had a book, it was literally a hand notebook for each chapter. So she had like 8 chapters, 10 chapters. And what she'd do a bit on chapter 1, a bit on chapter 3, a bit on chapter 2, a bit on chapter 5. And for her, that worked. For me, it would send me insane. I went through mine in a linear storyboard flow, and I didn't realize that's just the way my mind works. For her, she views it as a series of silos filling up at the same time. And it was just interesting. That was her visual mind map of her book. I couldn't do it. It just wouldn't work for me doing it chapter random. For her, it did. And she actually had to have them all reasonably in line. So she filled from the bottom up. I filled from the left to right. That makes sense with my book. But it just depends on your sort of your style, I think, whichever you find comfortable, I guess.
Is Gareth's a business book, by the way?
No, it's when you put your coffee cup on, I think. Gareth, are you there?
No, I mean,
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes. Well, I hope it is.
Gareth, while we've got you, content plan for your sort of more the social media side. Do you have a structure for that?
Yes, I do. Actually, and I work in the process of. I'm probably going to do 3 or 4 like content giving posts a week.
Yeah.
I'm going to do one family post, then I'm going to do one out and about post, and then I'm going to do one sell post.
Yep.
And that's pretty much how I do it. And I have a monthly plan, which I sit down at the end of every month to do, all 31 days, so I know exactly what I'm posting when. I might do one news article as well in the week. So before you know it, you're up to your 7. I work on the theory of 1 post a day.
Yep.
And if you do it like that, finding 7 posts for a week is pretty easy.
Absolutely. No, agreed. Yeah, absolutely right.
So, when you think about, one of those posts I'm going to sell, one of those posts is going to be my Friday post, which is usually, having a drink or whatever, or, finishing the week or whatever.
Yeah.
By the time, and one news article, by the time you build it around there, it's pretty easy.
It spins.
But I find that if I don't do that, it's really hard.
Right. Okay. So you need that sort of structure. Okay. Yeah. Great. Yeah. Thanks. Anybody else? Yeah. Claudia.
I had.
It's difficult to kind of.
Oh, he's gone.
Okay, he muted himself.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of coaching a writer out of Canada, and she was writing a nonfiction book. And the reason she came to me was also because she all of a sudden started having this writer's block. All of a sudden, like her entire flow and so on kind of dropped. And like so many things that we encounter in coaching, it's just that her vision had shifted.
Yes.
And in the process of writing the book, she realized, oh, this is much more of a community thing and not just I write about it thing. I have to go out in front of people and teach this and so on. And so I think we should be concerned about knowing our why.
Yes.
Good over point. Knowing our how. Yes. Right. Is this still really what I want to do? Is this really the topic that I want to write about? I'm qualified to write about, and that's going to serve my clients the best. Yeah. And just look at it on a little bit of a larger scope than just churning out pages. Yeah, that's a great point. And so I think we should maybe also mention that in this panel here today. Absolutely,
no. I think you have that sort of purpose behind you. It was the first book that I wrote was this one. Here we go. This is one I made earlier. It was this one, which is the personal development book, and this actually morphed or turned into like the first chapter is all about me, my background, which wasn't intended. It wasn't, but I started to write about me as a kid, and it just kept on coming. I thought, wow. And so the first, about half the book is actually about me, to be fair, but anyway, but it just flowed out, and it is quite sort of, autobiographical to a degree, but it was very, very like cathartic to write it, to have it out there. And the feedback that I get on this one is much more sort of moving than the business one, if you like. It's more of a storyboard. And people have got this book, and they'll drop me a note. So one girl, she got a copy of this book, and she bought it from a charity shop, which means somebody bought it full price and couldn't choked it. Anyway, she bought it from a charity shop, which is fine. And she wrote me a letter, and it was really, it transformed her life. It changed her whole. It's like, wow, that was amazing. It doesn't happen every week, but it really, affected her in a good way, which was great. But yeah, that's much more sort of a personal storyboard. But then putting that one out there, a bit more of a risk, because you're revealing yourself to the world, and people don't know about they don't need to know sometimes our backgrounds and things like that. But that's a bit more sort of I edited that one down a bit. There's some stories in there that I took out. Lynn told me I couldn't publish those. Gareth's back in again. So anyways, I edited it down a little bit. But yeah, but that why, as you say, I think absolutely. But it may evolve as you produce the book. I found them to be like a living thing when you're writing it. It's like a living thing. You have a relationship with it. So I'm not too extreme with this, but it was very much a relationship with the document. It's very, very sensitive. Mr. Hughes, we can see you now.
Frozen.
Oh, but he's frozen.
Hello, I should be good. I think I've managed to resolve issues.
Excellent.
The Wi-Fi in this place is absolutely atrocious. But yeah.
Never mind.
I should have done my hair, actually, shouldn't I?
You look gorgeous. Okay. Yes. Any other points? I know you've been jumping in out, but Gareth, any points from you in terms of the why or the purpose? Why did you write yours? I know it's fabulous as it is.
Because you told me I needed to. That's why I wrote it. I mean, that's like 80%, right? I wrote it because it's a business card, like you were saying earlier, and I always send people books when they start with me. Yeah. And what I'm doing is I'm sending them other people's books, and I thought that didn't make much sense. That's right. So why should I send other people's books when I could send them my book? And that was primarily the reason I wrote it. It's certainly not a bestseller, David, but it's all a matter of time. But it's something that I can physically give to people. Yeah. And that's why I wrote it. I'm sure you touched on that earlier about
absolutely. It is. It's this sort of makes this intangible thing tangible and touchable, which is great. And also something that I've learned over the last 3 months is what we're going to do, whether he likes it or not, is for our new grandson. is a box containing one of each of every book that I published, sealed and secured, and sort of taped down, for him to have as a when we sort of type off. It's like a bit of a legacy as well, because it's lots of our stories of Lynn and me and the business and where we've been and what we've been doing and all that sort of thing. You'll probably never read them, but anyway. But it's just that there's a legacy thing there as well. I guess for me, none of my family, as far as I know, had ever written a book, and it was doing a first in the family thing as well to a certain extent. But yeah, so far so good. So far so good. We had a royalty check come through. I've told this story before. I have a royalty check come through every quarter from the US publishers of one of the books. And I think it was $12 or something like that. And we bought a Domino's pizza with it. We had a pizza. That was it. So 3 months and we got a pizza. So it makes
I don't think that's the I know that if that's your reason to write a book, you're writing it for the wrong reason, I think.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. I think the reason to write a book is, the credibility and that kind of thing, rather than getting rich off it.
I'm not going to get rich.
I don't think that's very, it's not going to happen.
Agreed. Okay, any other questions? Kev, Marie, anything else? I mean, Marie, are you thinking of publishing?
Yeah, eventually, but I'm a writer in like the broad sense of things. I have submitted a couple of short stories for writing contests and this kind of things.
Okay.
And I'm currently writing for the company I work for their blog. It's nothing like a big literacy. It's about music and stuff, but still, like writing is something I love, and I've heard I'm good at. So it's definitely in my mind. I'm just not sure if the first that will come out will be something fiction or non-fiction.
Okay.
But yeah, there are a couple of things I'm too passionate not to write about, I think.
Right, okay.
So yeah, definitely.
It's strange. I was up in Luxembourg today doing a workshop for a group in a big accounting firm. And I was asking them, these are youngsters, or I don't mean comparable youngsters. And what I mean by that, they're sort of in the 20s, which is highly young to me. And they all said about writing, number one, want to write a book, even now in the age of technology. I said, well, what do you mean, like an ebook? And no, they actually want the paper book. There's something about a physical book, even now, that it seems to inspire people a little bit more than just an ebook or a Kindle and that sort of thing. I prefer, lots of people you see, I mean, you can see Phil's bench there if you like, but most of us, I guess, have got books somewhere on a shelf. We got the actual book, and I'm old school. I prefer reading a physical book. It's just that I've got a Kindle, but I can't be bothered with that. So there is something about making it tangible, making it a soft paperback copy as well. So okay.
I think we are all quite aware of the proverbial bit bucket.
Yes.
We know of the fleeting nature of social media feed and things like that, of also things that we never thought would disappear, all of a sudden overnight they're gone.
Yeah.
And so I think that it makes us ourselves hold on to it more.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because you're not going to throw out your own book, but a hard drive crashes, or your backup system crashes, or whatever, and it's
exactly
gone, right?
Exactly. And I still get a buzz out of we buy some stock. I got my picture on a book. It's like it's quite cool. And when you get Gareth, you'll get this when you get your first proof copy through, if you like, but it turns up in a bag, like a jiffy bag, in a little box or something, and you see it for the first time. It is still very, very cool to see, here's my work in a book with it's bound and that sort of thing. It is good fun. It's great. And but people that they're intrigued, because everybody said that everybody's got a book inside them and this sort of thing, but I don't know what the percentage is of the population that actually writes a book. I bet it's 0.1%. I'm guessing, but it's not very many people actually get around to writing a book. I've got a number of clients who are doing it, but yeah, it's a good, still, I think it's still a good thing. Okay, any other questions? Any more thoughts, points, Gareth? Now you're back with us fully in colour.
I think you covered it all, really. I think it's important I think as coaches, it's important to have your own calling card, really, and your own system that you kind of coach people through. Not because you need a system, but because the buyer, the customer, needs to see that you've got something to give, right? It's kind of like the weird dichotomy where the system itself doesn't matter, but it matters to the client, right? I don't think I've explained that well, but yeah, I think it's really important to have something, and you know, as much as I hated doing it, I'm probably going to do it again.
Excellent. Oh my goodness, let's make a quick note of that.
Quick, somebody say something, he'll put a date on it.
Yeah, exactly. Quick, write that down.
Well, what is it they say? There's 3 trusts you need to break down for someone to buy from you. One is trust, they've got to trust you. They've got to trust themselves because they've made bad decisions. But they've also got to trust your system. And that's what the book will give you.
I've never had any negative feedback on the book. Nobody's come back and said, I think it's a pile of old rubbish.
Maybe you didn't get my email then.
In fact, I was just
did you see my Amazon review?
Unless, you know, when you say something, you know it's not going to go well. I retract that last statement from the house. Which doesn't mean there hasn't been negative thoughts about it, but I've never been told about them. But the feedback I've had has been pretty good. But you still get that sort of, wow, you're an author. Yes, I am an author. And you still got a little bit of, there is kudos to it, I think, because it's a very crowded space we're in coach and trainer world. And if, you know, we've got to have lots of things going on for us, but a book could be, you know, was one of the things that could make a bit of a difference. That's all. So certainly recommend it. Okay. Any other questions, thoughts, or points while we're all together, or can I go and have the barbecue?
Just a quick question, David.
Yeah, of course.
You self-published your books, right?
Yeah.
Did you try to go, say, the traditional way to get published by a publisher?
No, it's an interesting point. I didn't, mainly because I know what happens. You send it in, you wait, nothing happens, or even if they accept it, it takes so long. But even if a publisher accepts the book, I've got another client. You've come across Carl Reeder. It was great. He's done a number of books, a lot of speaking. He's really, really good. I'm not sure which book it was. He wrote one of the books he wrote. He did it through a publisher, and literally he made like 10 pence a copy out of it. He did nothing. He could distribute it, but he almost lost control of it, I think, as well. Oh, there you go. That might be the one. I'm not sure that's the one, but there you are. So I think he changed his approach. So if you're going to publish through a publishing house, the only reason they'll take you on is to make money out of it. So they want to control it. They want to do the publishing and everything like that, and the marketing for it. You do lose control. Because my brief, or for me, wasn't to, I say not to make money. I'd love to make money out of the books. It wasn't the primary intention. Self-publishing just worked for us. That was all. We got complete control. We don't have to rewrite it and update it and that sort of thing. We can just print on demand, and away we go.
Okay.
Plus, they might have rejected it as well. That would have hurt.
Yeah. You got to accept it first draft. Yeah.
You never know. Maybe. I think, was it Harry Potter got rejected a few times, didn't it?
Oh yeah, a lot of times.
So, you know,
yeah.
that's the way to go. But look, unless you're doing a Harry Potter or 50 Shades or whatever, you're not going to get rich in the authorship publishing world. I don't think. There are some very wealthy authors out there, but there's a lot more writers than authors as well, you know. So don't expect the millions, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks.
All right, no, pleasure. All right, so Kev and Gareth, I will see you next week in person on Friday. Yes, in person, which is excellent. First live workshop.
Wait a second. Is Kev going?
Yes, he is.
I'm not.
There's no need, is a Kev? There's no need for this hostility.
Can you put us on the opposite ends of the room? Can you?
Well, I might have to now. Kev's 7'2". I know you're only 3'6". You aren't you? Never seen you. It's going to be great. So next week, because we're on holiday next week, so there won't be a call next week, if that's okay. We're going to be away. I'm with grandson. We're up to the seaside in the UK. I'll see Kev Gareth on Friday. We're doing an event in Luxembourg. Just going to be a sort of lunch at the office and some ideas. Going to be early October. So anybody in Luxembourg, look out for that. You're welcome to come along and have a cup of coffee and a sandwich and a piece of cake or something like that. It'd be good to see you. And we're getting back into workshop mode now as well. So we'll see you next week, and we'll see you. But the week after, we're back. So week after next, we're back on track. I'll send the link around as well. All right, guys, great to see you. Have a lovely evening. I'll get the recording up onto YouTube, and I'll see you soon.
See you
Have
soon.
a nice evening.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.